Hey everyone, today I am going to annotate a very tactically sharp game. I played against a 2041. This game was tactically sharp. I felt I made a mistake trying to develop my light square bishop in the French, and then I ran into some tactics. I got very lucky that the tactics worked out in my favor. But there was a queen sacrifice, so I was quite nervous when playing this game. Yeah, so the opening, I just want to double check the best way to develop my light square bishop. And in the middle game, the tactic with the queen sacrifice, I definitely want to review that, make sure that it wasn't dubious. Great, so my opponent played e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3. I've been facing this move more often. Usually I play pawn takes, knight takes, and then go from there. This is the Paulsen variation. So looking at the top engine moves, bishop e4, e5, c5. That's theory. And also knight f6, which looks counterintuitive because e5 and knight fd7. And knight f3 and c5. And that is interesting. The knight on c3 may be misplaced. As I'm seeing this c5 pawn push here, usually white responds with c3, but the knight's in the way. So bishop e uh, bishop e4, e takes, e takes, bishop d3, knight c6 with tempo, a3, takes, takes, knight g7. Okay, so I'm going to keep an eye out for bishop b4 the next time I face this Paulsen attack, and I'll recognize now that this knight on c3 is blocking white's c-pawn. Okay, so in the game I took take knight f6, And if knight captures, queen captures, this looks fine. So knight f6, bishop g5, bishop e7 is forced because on h6 there's knight takes and then pawn is forced to recapture. So this keeps my pawns um, from getting doubled up. And there is a threat here. Let's say white plays knight f3. We are threatening knight takes. And if bishop takes, queen takes, and black is up a piece. Okay, so in the game, white took, bishop takes, takes, and white is developing, probably just trying to castle kingside. And here I tried to get a little fancy. I played b6 with the idea of playing bishop e7. But I completely missed this idea of bishop e5 check. And let's say I play knight d7, castles. If I play bishop e7 here, there's bishop takes, king takes, and white should be better. Slightly. Because after rook h d8 and then king e8, white may not be able to take advantage. Um, yeah, so I didn't want to lose castling right. So after bishop b7, no, so instead of bishop e7, I would have to play queen e7. So now rook e1, castles, c3, bishop e7. And yeah, I wasn't happy losing this tempo. So I didn't play knight d7. Yeah, I played c6. So if I could take this back, I would play bishop d7 on move 8. Now if bishop d3, bishop c6, and we control this nice diagonal. Castles, castles. But I was kicking myself a little over b6, but I think that's still a game. So I played c6, bishop d3, bishop b7, with the idea still of playing c5 and opening up my light square bishop. Castles. And I delay castling. I don't see a way that white can punish me. And with this knight move, I am preparing c5. And if d captures c5, knight captures c5. I do have to be a little careful playing c5 without having castled first. So let's say rook e1, c5, dc, knight c. Yeah, this is a lot of trouble. Bishop e5, and white is winning. Yeah, all the pieces are flowing in. I cannot imagine this is any good. This goes to show you the importance of castling. They are rook e1, castle, black steps out of the rook's x-ray pressure. And white pushes their pawn. So in this position, a4 doesn't look that scary. Black's position looks solid. If I could play c5, that's the natural plan. Black's knight is loose. I think the best move for white may have been bishop e4, preventing c5. I think in the game, white does play some move that forces the light square bishops off. But yeah, this just drops a bishop. And you could argue white's light square bishop is slightly better. Okay, a4. So I continue with my plan of c5. And now they're playing e4. And rook b8 takes, takes. It may not be too bad. So the rook on b7 seems a little awkward, but it is ready to go to d7. But the issue is after knight takes c5, b4, the knight has to go back. I guess there is knight a6 with a threat. And if c3, rook over, queen e2, knight b8, rook over. I like white's position slightly better. White has more advanced queenside pawns and a better knight. So yeah, I went for this trade. Take, take, and white probably wishes they had developed their queen and connected their rooks. Yeah, this single rook on e4 isn't that annoying. So yeah, queen g6. So one thing I'm trying to get better at is identifying vulnerable pieces and pawns. I think that's something I'm gaining through my fork puzzle tactics. So I see rook e4 is loose. So queen g6 attacks the rook and applies some pressure onto g2. So this move does a number of things. It also clears f6 for my knight. So queen over, and I'm still happy about this battery alignment rather than the two rooks. This seems a little less scary. So knight f6 with tempo, rook d5, rook e5, then takes. So my idea of takes was, again, just in the theme of gaining tempo, like rook f d8, c3, maybe just rook d7, planning on doubling up. Some other ideas, let's say knight f3, rook a c8. This attacks the vulnerable c2 pawn. Um, like when I played this move, when I thought about this move, I thought it was a nice coordinating move, but after c3, my rook on c8 feels a little silly. So yeah, I'm a little critical of this move. After c3, black doesn't have a good follow-up. Okay, so in the game, there's rook g5. The two candidate moves were queen h6. And after knight takes, Knight cannot take because of queen. Um, maybe queen e5, protecting the rook. And I may have ideas of trying to protect the pawn. But yeah, knight d4 is still in the air. And white's pieces seem pretty active here. I would say they're slightly better. Yeah, with queen h6, my pieces look very inactive. So I decide to go for queen e4. Thinking that if queen takes, knight takes with tempo, say rook e5, probably knight f6, take, take, or take, and then rook f d8, c3, and yeah, the position looks slightly more balanced than queen h6. Okay, white avoids the queen trade. I pressure the c3 pawn. And if white plays something like rook c1, I'm pretty happy with this. Black's pieces look very inactive. I may be threatening pawn d3. If queen takes, pawn takes, rook takes with mate. And if pawn takes, rook takes, queen takes, we preserve that pawn. So here knight takes, and black adds another defender to the c2 pawn. I pin the knight, but there is an interesting move. What if I play d4 or e5 here? And if rook e1, queen takes, pawn takes. Hmm. Did I overlook e5? And if white plays a retreating move, like rook c2 looks pretty good. I do have to note my e5 pawn is hanging. Takes, rook takes. And this looks tricky. This does look tricky. But I think after rook a2, this pawn may be a goner. There's pawn up, pawn takes. Yeah, it may be hard for black to promote these pawns. So e5, knight f3. I'm not too crazy about queen takes, or am I? Because if rook takes, yeah, seems the same. Yeah, e5, interesting move. So I decide to pin, they defend, and I play e5 here. The difference with e5 here is I don't have queen takes c2. But either way, after playing e5, I did see rook e1, and I thought I calculated that I was winning material. Um, because I saw rook takes. No, what did I see? I saw rook takes, and if rook takes, we're up a piece. Yeah, but there's so many ways out of it. Um, and black's down the exchange here. Yeah, I thought I missed one or two variations, but yeah, this entire e5 move may not have been that good. I mean, queen takes, loses. Yeah, so my entire idea after playing e5, expecting rook e1, was I could fall back, if anything, to like queen c6, but I don't realize that my e5 pawn is hanging. And again, I was so focused on making this e5 pin work that I stopped looking for my opponent's resources. Yeah, during the game, I think I saw after rook e1, queen c6 doesn't even work. So let's say queen b7. Yeah, this is a lot worse than I thought it was. Yeah, so I have to stop falling in love with my position. Okay, so I spent 3 minutes on this move. Part of me was saying, just go for it. Otherwise, I'm dropping a pawn because queen b7, rook takes, drops a pawn. But I'm glad I calculated this, and what I saw was, let's say, pawn takes, rook takes, and white has back rank issues. Probably not thematic here. So black wins back the queen. So natural move, let's say c2, cb, and if queen takes, we have rook d1. White has back rank issues. Um, queen c1, cb. If queen takes, it's the same tactic. And let's say queen over. This might be interesting actually, because if rook c1, my queen takes bc is what I calculated. But I notice, what if rook c1, rook e1? This might be a small detail that I missed. Do I have rook takes, queen takes, rook c8? Hmm. Yeah, this is tricky. Let's say white gets some left. There's rook c1, rook over. Yeah, this tactic may not have worked um, if white played the best defensive moves. Yeah, rook takes, and this pawn isn't promoting. Hmm. Queen over c2. Take queen b1, and rook c1 was my idea. But after rook e1, rook takes, and I think white's winning here. Yeah, I think white just needed to see this defense interposing the rook. Rook takes, rook takes. Yeah, I don't think this tactic works. So this move that I thought was dubious during the game was dubious during the game. Okay, but it gave me practical chances. White had to find the best move, which they didn't do. So they went with this sacrifice, and white can't take because of mate. So they spend a tempo moving the rook back. This would be a blunder. Um, hmm. Okay, so some takeaways from the game. And it's always this common theme: don't fall in love with your tactics. When you find a winning tactic, spend time on all of your opponent's responses. Also, hand wave calculations. Calculations, calculation over everything. I am disappointed with rook e1, just missing that it was attacking my queen, but also my loose pawn on e5. Um, and look out for interpositions as a defense. Yeah, so that rook e1 idea, over here, I think this saves everything. Rook e1. And again, giving up the queen. Um, are there practical chances, though? White cannot take the pawn because of rook d1. Yeah, but let's say h3, rook over, and yeah, white looks winning. Okay, let's run the computer analysis and see if my analysis is correct. This does work. That is amazing, but yeah, it's saying my queen sacrifice does work. It's the only move. But what about that only move? That is one thing I don't like about the annotations. It's hard to find this only move, let's say. Okay. Yeah, rook e1 and black is still winning. Why is that? So rook takes, rook c8. Yeah, rook e5, rook e5, and just the g6. Yeah, rook c1 doesn't work. Why does g6 work? Hmm. Okay, rook over doesn't work because of rook c1. And I'm not sure what the idea is. Knight over. That's amazing. Yeah, so this b2 pawn is so far advanced, and my king is coming in. Take, take. Oh, very interesting. So the detail I missed here is that after takes, takes, threatening mate, we're threatening a queen promotion. This is forced. And the logic here is that my pawn is too far advanced. I think this detail with knight takes, protecting the pawn. But yeah, very tactically sharp game here. Um, Black is down the exchange, but has this advanced pawn. And because of that, and these protected pawns coming in, Black's winning. But great. Thanks for staying with me through this analysis, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.